Hello, Resilient Warriors. This is a series that allows us to hit restoration on multiple different levels. We're going to start out by giving ourselves some somatic restoration movement that helps our cells, fascia, joints, and muscles release tension. Then we'll bring in a little bit of nerve flossing and then into a series of restorative yoga. I will be doing the whole series with you and timing out the restorative poses so that you don't have to worry about a thing. We'll also be using affirmations to help bring in the component of neuroplasticity restructuring so that we can get out of those pain grooves that have started to be created within our brain because of the chronic pain aspect. Okay, as always, throughout the practice, please be mindful of what your body is telling you. If there's ever a point where there's pain, I want you to back off and come back to a place where you feel safe and where you can start to refocus in on the length and the quality of your breath. In saying that, the other aspect that I really want you to be mindful of is the length, the quality, the love, the slowness of your breath. Allow this to be a time to lengthen out, not be hurried, not be rushed, and truly focusing in on what your body wants through the breath, through the movement. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to first start out on our backs. Lengthen the spine out long. The knees are high. Feet are about hip width apart. Make sure that you feel nice and centered on the floor. So maybe pull one shoulder blade up and then the other so that you feel nice and grounded. Hands are alongside the body, arms are long. Eyes are looking up towards the ceiling. Now this is a really simple movement in that it starts from the heels, the feet glued to the mat, and now the body begins to rock back and forth, so the length of my mat. And it's allowing the whole entire body to become involved in that rocking sensation. Rocking is one of our tools for releasing pent-up trauma that is stored within the tissues. It also helps to release cortisol, which then translates to us beginning to release the effects of the stress, anxiety, pain loop that is in partnership with chronic pain. So start to really invoke that diaphragmatic breath here. Breathing in and out through the nose. Continuing to rock. We're going to do this for 3 cycles. Let's give ourselves one more breath here. And pause. Feel. What shifts have occurred for you? All right, let's do that again. So keeping the breath long, rocking the body up and down, feeling the earth pulling at the skin, which is helping to release tension in the fascia. This is a really effective move for sciatica, lower back pain, fibromyalgia, because it's getting into the tissues. Our issues are stored in the tissues. And whenever we can do tools to help release that stagnation, that glue-like adhesion that happens within the fascia, that web, the fascia is a web-like container that envelops the entire body from cell all the way up to the skin. So it's an immense web-like formation that holds us together. The trauma, though, creates glue-like adhesions within that fascia that translates to pain. This rocking motion helps to release those adhesions. We'll be here for about 3 more breaths. If it feels good for you, maybe allowing that exhale to be a little longer. Maybe the exhale comes out through an open mouth. What does your body want? What does your body need? And pause. Feel into the vibrations within you that you have created. And let's do that one more time. You can also rock the head from side to side if that feels good for you, especially on this last round, because the rest of the body has really started to awaken and release. But if it causes any feelings of dizziness, let that go and just come back to a still head. Big breaths. And then coming into stillness. Coming into the second somatic mobility movement, we're just going to rock the knees side to side. The feet are wider than hip width apart. The shoulders stay glued to the mat. Moving as slowly as feels good for you. This is a good opportunity to start to allow the breath to lead the movement. Staying with the deep diaphragmatic breath. Feeling the belly rise with the inhale. Descend towards the spine with the exhale. Giving the sacral iliac joint at the small of the back a massage. Helping with sciatica, lower back pain. Let's give ourselves 5 more breaths here. The slower the breath, the better. Feeling yourself beginning to unwind. Maybe you're feeling your nervous system starting to regulate down regulate. Allowing the body to relax into areas that you weren't even aware you were holding on to tension. And then slowly coming back to center, taking a pause and feeling what's happening now within the body. Where are the shifts occurring? Okay, now we're going to come into a little sacral iliac lubrication series. I invite you to go ahead and grab your cushion or bolster. If going into a deep twist is not comfortable for you. To start out, we're going to cross the left leg over the right as if we're in skirts and the knees are together tight. So you're feeling contact. It's not like open up, but together. This first part of the series is very slight, very small movement where you're rocking the knees side to side for maybe 3-4 inches. This movement is super slow, and maybe close your eyes or soften through the gaze so that you can start to focus in on the sensation that's being created by the knees rocking side to side. I want you to feel in to that sacral iliac joint. It's in the formation of a triangle at the small of the back, and it feels firmer than when you move a little further off of it and come into the gluteus maximus muscle. So feel in to that slight shift from going from the sacral iliac joint, which is made of bone, into the muscle. And I want you to focus in so that the rocking sensation is right in that sacral iliac joint. It doesn't go into the muscle. Arms are alongside the body. Soften through the shoulders. Soften through the jaw. Deep, long breath. Lubricating the sacral iliac joint with fresh synovial fluid. An unfortunate truth to aging is that our joints dry out. Our ability to just naturally lubricate the joints fades away with age. So one of the things that we need to do to help ourselves remain out of chronic pain is to do these slight movements that brings in fresh synovial fluid. And we'll be here for about 2 more breaths. Maybe using that extended exhale. And then coming to pause. We're going to use that bolster or blanket, and we're going to draw it up towards the right side of the body. I want you to slightly, very slightly, pick up your hips so that you can scooch them over to the left just a little bit, so that it allows you to then start to bring the knees into a twist. And that scooching over helps to keep the spine in a natural straight alignment. So we're coming into a twist. One of the absolute best gifts we can give ourselves for releasing toxins. All twists are one of the ways that we are able to squeeze the organs, the tissues, while we're in the twist. And then when we release the twist, we flood that tissue, the organs, with fresh, new, oxygenated blood. So while you're in this twist, you have a choice here with the head. You can keep the eyes looking up towards the sky, or maybe looking in the opposite direction of your knees. What feels best for your body today? As we stay in this twist, start to feel like you can soften. Release the guarding. You are safe. And with the exhales, can you help the body release the toxins by pulling the belly up and in to push even more so, a little bit more on the intestines, belly, liver, kidneys. 2 more breaths here. Big open mouth exhale, let that stuff go. 1 more time. To come out of the pose, when you're ready, engage the core by pulling the belly button towards the spine and lifting the knees back to center, scooching the hips back to center as well. Keep those knees stacked on each other, and we're going to bring the pillow over to the other side. And now we're coming into the reverse twist by dropping the knees over towards that bolster or pillow. You now should be feeling a stretch along the front of that right hip. This is the iliacus muscle. It's a super powerful hip muscle that tends to hold a lot of tension and can be often forgotten about in our many stretches that we can do in life. So breathe deeply into this opening in the front of the hip. Be mindful that you're not feeling any tension or pain within the knee joint. If you are, I want you to back off. Maybe come back to that rocking sensation that we did at the beginning. We'll give ourselves 3 more breaths here. All right, let's draw ourselves back to center, engage the core, pulling the belly button towards the spine to bring the knees back to center. We're going to open up the knees, coming back to that rocking the knees from side to side sensation. Feet are wider than hip width apart. And coming back into stillness, taking a moment just to pause between sides. Are there differences between the 2 sides of the body from that little series? If so, what do they feel like? All right, let's come on to the other side now. So let's cross the right knee over the left and come into that slight rocking sensation. Keeping the breath long and deep and loving. And maybe even bringing in an affirmation here. I send love and light to every single cell of my body and every space between. I send love and light to every single cell of my body and every space between. Let's rock for another 3 breaths. And then slowly coming back to center. Getting ready to grab that cushion or bolster. Let's scooch those hips a little bit on over to the left so that when we come into the twist, our spine is safe and straight. And then slowly bring the knees on over towards that left-hand side to help Bring yourself into that twist. Maybe the eyes looking up towards the sky, or maybe looking out over that right arm opposite of the knees direction. Big breaths. Allowing yourself to really pull that belly button up and in to support the release of toxins within the body. Releasing any negative thoughts. So toxins aren't just, bad food that we eat. It can also be the thoughts that we think, the environment that we're in. Release the toxins within your life. Use the breath to your advantage. 3 more breaths here. Last breath. And we bring ourselves back to center by engaging the core, pulling the belly button towards the spine, slowly drawing the knees back to center, scooching the hips back in alignment with the knees, and bringing that bolster on over to the opposite side to get ready for the opposite. Opening by letting the knees come into the right, opening that front of the left hip, the iliacus muscle on the left side. Big breaths. Breathe into this beautiful gift. You are giving your hips a place within the body that we tend to hold on to: sadness, frustration, anger. If you've been mad at your body for all the pain that you've been feeling, this might be an area that you're holding on. Let that breath help you tell the nervous system that you're safe. You do have the ability to heal yourself. Your body is a gift. 1 more breath here. And then slowly to come back to center, we engage that core. Knees rise. Taking that bolster and placing it to the side. Feet come wider than hip width, and knees rock side to side. Beautiful. All right, let's come back to center. We're going to roll onto the side of the body. Pause there for a moment. Feel into all those yummy gifts you've already given yourself. And then roll onto the belly. So you have a choice here. If it doesn't feel good for you to come onto the head, you can bring a bolster or a pillow underneath you to help support you. And then we're going to start by bending the left knee and rocking the foot from side to side. I want this to be really slow, really mindful. Another opportunity to connect the breath with the movement. So inhaling to one side, exhaling to the other. What's happening within your hip? Is there anywhere within this movement that deserves a little extra love and attention? This is another rocking sensation that helps to release cortisol and support our nervous system. I invite you to close the eyes or soften through the eyes to allow the focus to come into the hip area, releasing external stimulation, the breath and the movement dancing as one. Let's give ourselves 2 more breaths here. And then lengthen that left leg long. Pause between sides for a breath. Feel into the shifts and differences between the 2 sides of the body. And then bend the right knee. And then we start to windshield wiper the right foot side to side. Big breath. So now that we're on our bellies, that big breath is coming to our aid by assisting the lymph nodes in releasing toxins within the trunk of the body. So the bigger you allow your breath, the more the belly can press into the mat with the inhale, the more we are allowing the breakup of that issues within the tissues. Let's give ourselves 4 more breaths here. And then slowly coming back to pause, lengthening that right leg long. Let's take a moment to just feel into the hips, what shifts are occurring. And now we're going to come into a nerve flossing technique for the femoral nerve. What we're doing here is pretty simple. The knee comes into a 90-degree. The foot stays quiet, ankle stays quiet, and we're bending that ankle towards the buttocks. We'll do that for 12 sessions. Keeping that breath long. So really try to squeeze that ankle towards the buttock. I'm at 6 repetitions now. That's 7. Got 3 more to go. With nerve flossing, in the beginning it can be pretty intense even though it's a basic move. So doing just 1 set is just fine. Let's release that down and come on to the other side now. So we bend at the right knee, leg is at a 90-degree, foot, ankle relaxed, beginning to draw that right heel towards the right buttock. Coming back to 90-degree. Let's do that 10 more times. So we'll only be doing 1 set of the 12 reps in this class. But I invite you to try to bring this into your life more frequently and see if it feels good for you to bring it into maybe 3 sets a day. So that's 6, That's 9. And I also invite you to take notice, what differences are there between the sides of the body as you do this movement. All right. That is 12, and release down through the foot, come back to neutral and feel. And let's do one last windshield wipering move by drawing both knees into a 90-degree now, and now we're just rocking the feet side to side. Going at your own pace, but letting it be slow, allowing the breath to create the movement. Feeling how you're massaging along the belly, a part of our body that tends to be neglected a little bit, maybe even harshed upon. Can you send your belly a little love right now? A few more breaths here. And coming back to center, lengthening out through both legs. Pausing for a moment. And then coming onto the forearms. Drawing that bolster or pillow. Let's do a quick sphinx to give some nice extension of the spine. So drawing the elbows towards the hips as you lengthen the heart up towards the sky, the head stacked on the chest, on the shoulders, drawing the elbows downwards into the earth, helping the shoulders to also draw down towards the earth. One more big breath here. And then slowly release that down. Press against the hands to bring you up gently and kindly. We'll bring ourselves into a little bit of a lower back stretch here. So keeping the hips high, but drawing the hands out in front of you. A modified child's pose, maybe coming towards the heels if that feels good for your knees. Rotating the shoulder blades towards the earth to open up the back of the heart a little bit. One more breath here. And then slowly coming back on up. And now we're going to come into laying back onto our mats, onto the back. So either using your hands behind your knees or using the hands on the earth to lower yourself back down with control. All right. Now we're coming into alternated head and foot rotation. We're going to move the left foot out, moving the whole leg from the hip. So as you can see, my whole left leg is rotating outward. Now I start to rotate the head in the same tempo as my foot. The two rotating away from each other to help unwind the nervous system. So this is a super simple but very effective technique for unwinding, replenishing, restoring the nervous system, while we're also, because of the opposite movement in opposite directions, we're restructuring the brain, using neuroplasticity to our advantage. getting the brain out of the neural pathways of the anxiety, stress, pain cycle. Let's do 3 more here. And then slowly bring yourself back to center. Let's take pause between the sides. What shifts are occurring? Is there energy getting stirred up within? What does that feel like? Let's come on to the other side now. So the foot on the right side is rotating to the right as you look towards the left. I invite you to close the eyes or soften through the vision. Use that deep, long, slow breath to even more so let the body know that you're safe. And when we do these movements that are restoring the nervous system, it's not uncommon to have emotions come up, maybe even cry. So don't be afraid of that. Just allow the emotions to be there, to feel them for the moment that they're there, and then let them float by as they will. The beauty of this is that we don't have to get caught up in the story, but we can allow the body to process and release while we feel that emotion and be real with it. I used to cry all the time when I started these processes. All right, let's give ourselves 3 more rounds. And when you're ready, coming back to stillness, pausing and feeling. Okay, the next one is a trauma release response exercise. I want you to have your feet hip width apart, and we're going to start to open up the knees so that they're about halfway towards the ground. Pause there. Hands are on the lower belly. So it depends on how often we do this exercise. So in the beginning, you may not feel like the legs are beginning to shake, but you can see my legs are already starting to shake. Might take a couple rounds of doing this exercise to allow the nervous system to come into that state. But once you're there, stay with it. Keep that breath nice and long. So the hips, yes, they store so much for us. That goes throughout our lifetime. So doing this little release through the hips allows us to, again, release the issues within the tissues without getting caught up in the story. Staying here for a couple more breaths. We're going to do this for 2 more rounds. When you're ready, slowly bring those knees back to center. I want the knees to come to kiss together, and you walk the feet wider than hip width apart so that all the energy is now coming inwardly. You can relax through the hips, relax any tension you feel there. Let's bring that open mouth exhale into effect. Release that stuff that just got stirred up. And let's come into a second round. Walk the feet back to hip width apart and begin to slowly open up the knees. Coming to around halfway down towards the floor. It's not uncommon to cry on this exercise because of the tension and trauma that we will hold in our hips for our entire lifetime if we don't let it go. Don't judge yourself if the tears come. Allow yourself to release. It's that guarding, it's that tension, it's that holding that is participating in the chronic pain. As any shaking occurs, can you let that breath get deeper? You are safe. You are loved. You matter. Three more breaths here. And when you're ready, slowly drawing those knees together, feet wider than hip width apart. Pausing and feeling. Maybe one hand to the heart this time, one hand to the lower belly. What does your body need to feel supported and loved in this moment? Let's come into the last round for trauma release through the hips. Feet hip width apart, opening up the knees slowly and kindly. Coming to that place where the body says, that's the spot, that's where I need to release. And allow the shaking to begin. And when you're ready, slowly bring yourself back to center. Let's draw the knees together, feet wider than hip width apart once again. Take the hands to wherever feels most supportive for you, and relax. And then we'll come into the last little series for somatic release, and that is called shuckling. And our legs are long, about hip width apart, and the whole entire movement comes from the toes with the heels glued to the mat, the whole entire body rocking up and down on the floor or the bed. So keep yourself rocking. And again, we're going to do this as we did with spinal rocking for 3 rounds. Give ourselves one more breath here. And pause. Coming into another round, we rock the body, keeping the head in the game so it gets to rock too. Settling the nervous system, massaging the vagus nerve, releasing toxins through the lymph nodes. The body can only release inflammation through the lymph nodes. And if we are not moving, then we can't release the inflammation, because the body needs the lymph nodes to move to release. They don't have their own ability to release the toxins. So this little shuckling does that for us. Let's give ourselves one more breath here. And pause. And let's come into the last round now. Feeling that those shifts that you're creating, that love, that light. And shuckling is also one of our natural abilities to give ourselves a spinal adjustment. It naturally allows the spinal column to come into neutrality. This is a move I use every single day. And I highly, highly invite you to do it as well. It's such a beautiful move. Let's give ourselves 2 more breaths here. And when you're ready, release. Feel all that loving energy you've stirred up. Can you pull that energy up towards the brain, up towards the point between the eyebrows, helping to stimulate our pineal and pituitary glands to enliven our life, offer our bodies a more sound sleep through the release of melatonin, and a bit of awareness towards the higher functioning executive aspects of the brain. And now dropping into Shavasana, allowing yourself to fully release all control of the breath, all control of the body. Drop into the support rising up to meet you through the surface in which you are lying upon. And bringing in the affirmation for Shavasana. Bones, muscles, movement. I surrender now. Anxiety, elation, and depression. All of these, I give in to the hands of peace. And we'll stay here for about a minute. Eyes closed, soften through the jaw, through the eyes. Maybe come back to an affirmation if you find your mind gets caught up within the thoughts. I send love and light to every single cell of my body and every space between. And about 30 seconds left here. And I invite you to roll on to the left or right side of your body. Pause there for a moment. Give yourself a little bit of time to just feel this gift you've given yourself by doing this somatic body movements. And then draw that top leg out to press against that top arm to help you come back into a seated position. And allow yourself to come back in to get ready to go into that restorative part of this series. All right, now we're going to talk about 2 nerve flossing techniques, one for the sciatic nerve and one for the peroneal nerve. We will do the sciatic nerve first. With all nerve flossing techniques, start out slow. Even though they're basic, they create a lot of change. And it's best to start out with just 1 set of 12 reps and then move up to 2 to 3 sets of 12 reps as it works for your body. Okay, so get started by coming to lay down on the back. Use awareness to bring yourself down. And the knees are bent. Feet are about hip width apart. Make sure you're feeling comfortable. So this can be done in a bed or on the floor. And we're going to start out by lengthening through the left leg. Bring your leg into a stretch where it feels like a 5 or a 6. For me, that's about here. Now, interlace the hands behind the legs so that you feel supported and you don't really using too much tension, muscle tension, to keep that leg lengthened. The movement that we're going to begin with is just through the ankle and the foot. So as you keep that leg in that 5 or 6 stretch for you, if it's really intense of a stretch, it's totally great to have that knee bent. Find what works best for you to keep yourself in that intensity of a 5 or 6 out of 10 on the stretch intensity scale. 10 being the most intense stretch you've ever felt in your life. Okay, so we begin incorporating the breath, big, long, deep breathing. As you draw the toes together, point the toes up towards the sky, coming into extension. Now open the toes up, draw those toes towards you for dorsiflexion. Let's continue with that. So inhale, point the toes. Exhale, draw those toes towards you. We're going to do that for 10 more rounds. Eyes are up towards the sky. Softening through the shoulders. Moving slowly with mindfulness. And again, this is simple, yet super effective. I like to inhale as I point, exhale as I draw those open toes back towards me. This is 6. You may feel some shifts even happening within the hips, all the way through the leg. 9. 3 more. Last one. And drawing the leg down. Let's take a rest between sides. You can keep the knees hip width apart, or maybe draw the knees together. Feet are wider than hip width apart, or maybe coming into Supine Baddha Konasana. Feet are together, knees open up wide. Pausing, feeling. All right, let's bring the knees high again, coming onto the other side now. Lengthening through that right leg, interlacing the hands behind the right thigh. And we'll come into point. Inhaling, exhale. Let's draw those toes towards you. Oftentimes, the 2 sides of the body are very different. If you're finding that one side of the body has a limited movement compared to the other, use the memory of the more mobile side of the body to help the mirror neurons bring the mobility back to the more affected side of the body. For me, that's my right ankle is much more stiff than my left because I just recently went through a pretty traumatic injury and accompanying surgery. So I had not only a lot of emotional trauma that I'm working through, but also the physical. So this nerve flossing, when paired with the breath, releases and helps heal both of those emotional and physical traumas. All right, that's 8 for me. 4 more. Last 2. And then we'll pause, coming into your chosen form of rest, feeling into the shifts occurring. And then we'll come back into high knees. So we'll come back onto the left side again. This is a lot like that first move, but now we're bending through the knee. So come back into wherever your 5 or 6 is at. Interlace through the hands to support the leg. Drawing the toes towards you. Start to pointing the toes. Start to bring that foot towards the floor, bending at the knee. On the inhale, you're going to draw the toes towards your head to pull the leg back towards straight, coming back to your intensity of a 5 or 6. So the toes and the breath lead the movement. We'll do this for 12 rounds. That was 3. I invite you to close the eyes so you can really focus in on the movement, what's happening through the movement, the openings that you're creating. That's 6. 6 more to go. Two more. And release. Come back into rest. So knees can be open or knees closed or knees at hip width apart. Feeling into the shifts you're creating within. So both of these moves, the first and this one, are for the sciatic nerve. Let's come back to neutral knees, hip width apart, and we'll come on to the right side, lengthening through that right leg, clasping the hands behind the hamstring. We point the toes to bend the knee, drawing the foot towards the earth. Exhale, open the toes, draw the toes towards the head as you straighten the leg. 11 more times. Breathe with the movement. Let the breath be the lead of this dance. That's 4. That's 8. 3 more. And last one. Let's come back into your form of chosen pause to take opportunity to feel inwardly to our shifts we're creating for self. Beautiful. To come into the pineal nerve, we will need a strap. So we'll be coming onto the outside of the hip with this one. So draw the strap over the foot and let the strap be equal on both sides so that you can draw the arms so that they're supported by the earth, helping you to really pull the shoulder blades down the back and give space for the chest and the throat. Your opposite knee is bent to support you. Now I'm going to have you draw that left leg across the body by about 10 degrees. You're going to start to feel a stretch on the iliotibial band that is one of our huge support systems for the hip into the knee. When this band becomes stretched, often called just the ITB, when the ITB gets stretched, it can create in its own knee pain that feels like there's damage in the knee. So the ITB stretch that we're doing just right now is super powerful, especially when we, again, combine it with the breath. But for incorporating the perineal nerve, we want to bend the knee. So we're in that 10-degree slant with the left leg. We're pulling the toes towards the body. On the inhale, we're bending the knee, keeping tension through the strap. Exhale, we straighten the leg. 11 more times here. Keeping that angle of the leg the entire time. The breath leading the movement. That's 3. Maybe bringing a slight smile to the face. The slight smile to the face is a real simple hack into the nervous system. The brain doesn't necessarily know the difference when it's not happy if it's smiling. So that is part of the reason a trauma response can be smiling through the tragedy or the trauma. But when we're using it in this case, smiling while breathing deep, we're using that component of our psychiatry to be interlaced with the parasympathetic nervous system activation that we're doing through the breath and the movement. So again, restructuring the neural pathways of the brain. Let's give ourselves 4 more here. Pressing down through the hip into the earth. Twice more. Beautiful. And release. We come into a place of rest to check inwardly to our inner world. And then we'll come on to the other side. The strap comes around the foot. Lengthen through the leg. Drawing the shoulder blades down the back. Draw that leg into about a 10-degree angle, crossing over the center of the body. Push the heel towards the sky. Draw the hip into the earth. Feel where your 5 or 6 is. And then begin that bending of the knee. Inhale as you bend. Exhale as you lengthen. Inhale. Exhale, moving slowly with awareness, with loving awareness. Gratitude for where your body is at in this moment. That's 5. That's 8. Two more. And release. Letting that foot slowly descend towards the floor, coming back to your chosen place of rest, and pausing to inwardly connect to the energy shifts you have created for you. Into restorative poses. Such a yummy, yummy gift we can give ourselves. For this series, we'll need a few blankets or large towels, as well as a bolster or a large pillow or couch cushion. We can also utilize a block and an eye pillow to help the world around us, our external world, disappear, and we really can dive deeper into the gift we're giving ourselves through restorative yoga. I will be timing out the poses, so you don't need to worry about length of time. To get going, we are going to use the bolster as well as the blankets. They are going to be folded on top of each other in such a fashion so that it is up on the in the air to support you. I'm going to show 2 things that we can do with the blankets before we go into the pose to give you some extra forms of support. So in that case, if you're using these forms of support, you may need 4 blankets instead of 2. So the first aspect of support is to give ourselves knee and ankle support by bringing the blanket down on the earth so that our knees are placed on the blanket and that the ankle is then supported by this little lip that the blanket is creating. That little lip is enough to form some support for an ankle joint. And then you can use that second blanket if you're having challenges with the knee to come in between the buttocks and the heels so that you are giving now the knee some support and you don't have to go as deep. I'm going to leave it like that, but I would like for you, for the trunk of the body, to make sure that this part of the pose is high enough so that you don't feel like you're too far down towards the earth. Now I'm going to grab my phone real quick so I can time this out. We're going to be in supported child's pose for 5 minutes. To come into the pose, the knees are wide, and I want you to bring in that bolster and blankets to wherever it feels good for you, where that bolster cushion is kissing the inside of the legs. Keep that spine super duper long as you lower yourself down. The arms cradle both sides of the cushion or bolster, and then you rest the head in one direction. About halfway through, I will be letting you know to change the direction of your gaze so that we can stretch out both sides of the neck. All right, let's start. And while we're in all of these restorative poses, make sure that the breath, that diaphragmatic breath, is activated. We're trying to breathe as slowly and deeply as possible. To help the mind and the neural component of the restoration, I invite you to use the affirmations that go with the poses. The affirmation that is connected into child's pose is I relax from outer involvement into my inner haven of peace. I relax from outer involvement into my inner haven of peace. I invite you to close the eyes or soften the gaze, melting any tension anywhere in the body. Using that breath to begin to really let the nervous system shift from stress, fight or flight, into rest and digest. Go ahead and turn your head to look in the opposite direction. You've got about 2 more minutes here. About 1 minute left. Can you allow your breath to grow a little longer? Relaxing from outer involvement into your inner haven of peace. Three or four more big, loving, deep breaths here.
And when you're ready, engage the core by pulling the belly button towards the spine, pressing the hands under the shoulders to slowly come up, one vertebra at a time. Make this no rush. Press that bolster or cushion out to the side, roll onto your hip, maybe lengthen the legs out long, maybe rock the knees from side to side for a moment. And let's just take pause in between sides. In restorative yoga, it's really great to take pause between each pose to feel in to the shifts you're creating for you, offering an opportunity to deepen that loving relationship with self. Okay, let's come on to the next pose, Babbling Brook. We're going to be using, you have a couple options here. I'll show you how you can set up the situation by using a couple different versions of props. The first version would be using the cushion or bolster on the bottom, then a folded blanket or towel to make a little bit of a rise, and then another rectangled blanket or towel to come on top to create a little bit of an angle flow. So that's the first version if you don't have a block. If you do have a block, then I want you to place that block on the low angle. Then the bolster goes on top of that. Then the blanket. This leaves an extra blanket, which then you can utilize to do a roll. If you're not using the block, and so you are using both your blankets for support to create that angle, and then you can also use your eye pillow or a small rolled up blanket or another blanket to create that roll for the cervical spine. This is also another place where if you're not using that eye pillow for support for your cervical spine, you can use it for the eyes to help yourself go deeper into the pose. We will be here for 5 minutes. To get into the pose, make sure that you draw the bolster towards the small of your back and that you feel a connection there. Lengthen through the spine, the knees are bent to create support, and slowly using your hands for extra support, come on back. As you bring yourself back, make sure that that rolled up support system for your cervical spine is where you like it. And now you have a choice for your legs. You can come into Supta Baddha Konasana by bringing the feet together, the knees open wide. If you're in this position, I recommend maybe bringing some extra cushions or blocks, something to support your knees, because we don't want our joints to be hanging out in space when we're in these long holds that restorative provides. So in that case, if you don't have a way to support your knees, then I recommend lengthening the legs out long into straight legs. Okay, so coming into that positioning for yourself, and we will start the timer coming into 5 minutes into Babbling Brook supportive restoration pose. I invite you to close the eyes or soften the gaze. Allow your inner focus to come back to your breath. Begin to lengthen out the breath. Slow the breath down. And also allow an inner focus to rise up to the point between the eyebrows, helping to draw us out of the reptilian aspect of the brain, the limbic system that's in charge of our emotions, and then instead activate the higher executive functionings of the brain, as well as the pituitary and pineal glands of the brain. Deep, loving breaths. And using the affirmation for Babbling Brook, light flows into me. Light flows in to me. We have 3 minutes left here. Come back to the breath if you've gotten caught up within the thoughts of the mind. Last minute here. See if you can start to add an extra count, an extra moment of length to the inhale, and an extra 2 counts to the exhale. Coming slowly back to awareness. Let the knees bend. Roll over onto one side of the body to help you come on back into a seated position. Taking a moment to pause between sides.
Our next pose is wide angle forward fold. For that, we'll be utilizing the blankets as well as the bolster or cushion. So it kind of depends on how forward you are able to go in your forward fold. If you are feeling pretty stiff and coming down far just doesn't feel available to you, you can also use a chair to bring the earth up to your level. Another option is to spin your bolster on its side and then place the blankets on the top. So I want you to find where you're at for your body today on coming into a forward fold so that your forehead is supported when you come forward. As we're here for the 5 minutes, you're going to probably feel the shifts and changes. So please listen to what your body says and lower yourself as you see fit. Okay, so here we go. Coming in for 5 minutes into wide angle forward fold. Forehead resting where it feels most comfortable for you. This isn't about going deep, but instead feeling supported. Once you've found your placement, be sure to come back into your long, deep breathing. And let's begin to allow the affirmation to come into effect as well. I am safe. I am sound. All good things come to me. I am safe. I am sound. All good things come to me. Breathing into that reality, that truth through the breath for the next 3 minutes. Two minutes to go. I am safe. I am sound. All good things come to me.
We have 1 minute left here. Giving yourself about 5 more rounds of really deep, deep, loving breaths in this forward fold. Forward fold supports the nervous system, supports the brain. And slowly allowing yourself to rise back on up. And we'll take pause between sides, pushing your props out of the way so that you can come into your form of a seated pose for comfort, or maybe just lying in Shavasana with spine long and straight. Beautiful. We are going to come now into a restorative twist. You have a few options here for your support. You can use a couple blankets between the legs or a bolster. I'm going to use a couple blankets. And then to support the twist, you can either use a bolster or a block. I'm going to use a bolster. So we will be putting the blankets or bolster between the legs, then drawing the bolster on the right side of the body to start. We will be then using the arms to slowly, with awareness, bring yourself down to lengthen the spine long. Make sure that that bolster or block is next to the thighs so that when we come into the twist, it will block you from going all the way to the floor. We're going to bring the feet up so that the knees are in line with the hips. The arms are out in a T to support us as we start to drop the feet on over. Make sure that you feel supported through the spine. So if you feel like you're a little crooked, you can scooch the hips over towards the left so that the spine is more in a straight line. Make sure that you get those blankets into a position that's really supporting you so that you're not really feeling like you have to hold yourself in this twist. We're going to be on each side for about 2 minutes. I'm going to start the timer now. With the head, you have an option. You can either keep the eyes looking towards the sky, but with the eyes closed if that feels good for you. Or you can look out over that opposite arm. Wherever you're at, come back to your deep, long breath. Come into that awareness of being able to pull the belly button towards the spine to assist in releasing the toxins and inflammation through the trunk of the body. And we'll come into the affirmation. I open to the positivity that flows through me. I open to the positivity that flows through me. We have about 45 seconds left here. Slowly coming back to awareness, we're going to draw the belly button towards the spine to activate the core to help us come back to center safely and kindly. Scoot your hips back to center. Take a moment to feel. Go ahead and pick up that bolster or block to move it on to the other side of the body. Draw the knees into that 90 degree and then scoot yourself over to bring the spine into alignment, drawing the knees into your form of supported twist. That right arm is out to the right, creating that opposite direction of energy to fulfill that full twist within the spine. Your choice is to have the head in neutral, eyes pointed up towards the sky, or maybe looking out over that right arm. Coming back to the deep breath. Coming back into the affirmation. I open to the positivity that flows through me. Releasing all that no longer serves you. Breathing into a new reality that you are creating for you. About 35 seconds to go. Slowly coming back into reality. Allowing the core to be engaged to safely bring you back to center. Scooching your hips so that your spine is straight and neutral. Removing the blankets from between the legs, Lengthen the legs out long and just taking a moment to feel. Feel into that gift you've given yourself through the twist. And then when you're ready, rolling onto the right side of the body or the left and coming back into a seated pose to get ready for our next restorative pose. So for the next pose, you can use either a couple blankets folded in rectangles, or you can use the bolster. I'll be using the blankets. For this pose, we'll be coming into half frog pose. So come on to the hands and knees. We're going to lengthen the right leg long. And then bring your left knee in so that it's in a 45-degree angle. And then you're going to use the bolster or the blankets to support the head to look in the direction that your knee is pointing. Come back to breath. Come back to the feeling of how you're pressing the belly into the floor as you deepen your inhale. We're going to be here for 2 minutes per side. The timer has started. Stay with a deep, long breath and come into the affirmation. Left and right and all around. Life's harmonies are mine. Left and right and all around. Neat! No! Ruthie, no! No! No. Keeping the breath nice and long. Come on, Neat. Stop it. Allow me to finish. Stop. Keep the breath nice and long. Coming into the affirmation. Left and right and all around. Life's harmonies are mine. Left and right and all around. Life's harmonies are mine. Feeling the softness coming through the body. We've got about 45 seconds left here. Big breaths. Use that gift that the diaphragm creates. And then slowly coming back into the now. Let's draw the hands under the shoulders, coming back to center with the head. Press with the body to bring the knees underneath you. And we'll get ready for the other side. So we're coming into a straight leg with the left leg now. And the right knee is in a 45-degree angle. The ankle is in line with the knee is in line with the hip. The bolster blankets support the head. The arms are alongside the blankets or bolster. We start to reconnect into the breath, pressing the belly into the floor. The timer has started. Breathing deep. Neat! No! No! Stop it. Mom is working. Stop it. No. Coming into the affirmation, left and right and all around. Life's harmonies are mine. Left and right and all around. Life's harmonies are mine. We've got about 50 seconds left here. Twenty-five seconds left. And coming back into reality, slowly releasing the pose with mindfulness. Hands come under the shoulders. Hips come to alignment. Press yourself on up to a seated pose to rest between sides. Beautiful job. All right. Coming into our last pose, Supta Baddha Konasana, restorative version. So we are going to use the bolster or two blankets that are stacked on each other. I'm going to be using my bolster. And then you have a choice for the feet. You can bring your blanket that was in a rectangle or the towel and fold it so that it's in a longer fashion, such as this. Or you can use a strap or a belt. I will show you both versions. So for the blanket, place it over the feet and then wrap it around the feet so that it supports those legs, and now our joints aren't hanging out in space. For the back, you want to bring that bolster to the small of the back, lengthen the spine, and then lower yourself back. If you are using the strap, I want you to place the strap over the feet, then wrap the strap around your ankle, and then around the calves into the thighs. And that should allow some support to come into the feet so that you don't feel like you're having to support them together. With this version, it's nice to use a blanket to support the knee in the air on either side. You can also use a block to support the knee as well. I'm going to be utilizing the blanket to support my knees in Supta Baddha Konasana. And I also invite you to use an eye pillow for this pose as well. So get yourselves set up. We will be in this pose for 5 minutes. Again, when you're drawing yourself into the positioning, keep the spine long as you lower yourself back to keep the length of the spine. Once you're in that positioning, go ahead and place that eye pillow, and we will begin the time for 5 minutes. Coming back into that long, deep breath. Come back into that peaceful connection to self. And we'll connect into the affirmation. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. We've got 3 minutes left. Stay with the breath, inviting the breath to maybe grow a little longer in these last few minutes of restoration. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. "90 seconds left. And slowly coming into reality. Allow yourself to stretch a little bit so that you can roll onto the right side or left side of the body. And with intention and awareness, bring yourself back into a seated position. Taking a moment to pause. Feel that love within. And now we'll come into the very final pose for this series, supported Shavasana. I invite you to use a cushion, a pillow, or blanket under the knees, as well as a rolled up blanket for underneath the neck that is spread out so that the roll is under the cervical spine, and then the rest of the blanket is supporting a little cushioning for the head. So knees are supported, lengthening out, using your arms to support you as you come down. Taking that moment to create the cervical spine support. I invite you to use that eye pillow once again to help remove that external world interruption. And we will be here for 5 minutes. You can begin to release any control of the breath. Release any control of the body. To do that, to help do that, let's do 3 rounds of tension and relaxation to really invoke that sense of deeper relaxation. So let's inhale, tighten the entire body all the way from the toes to the top of the head, and release. Let's do that twice more. Tighten, 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 tighten through the entire body. Feel the quads, the calves, arms, chest, and release. Last time, inhale. And exhale. Allow yourself to sink deeper into that support, rising up from the surface in which you lie upon. You are fully supported. Let's do a quick body scan, helping the nervous system integrate this peacefulness within the body even more. Beginning to draw awareness to your toes, bottom of the feet, top of the feet, ankles, calves, shins, left knee, right knee, left hamstring, right hamstring, left quadricep, right quadricep, front of the hips, left buttock, right buttock, lower belly, lower back, middle belly, middle back, chest, back of the heart, left shoulder, right shoulder, left bicep, right bicep, left forearm, right forearm, left wrist, right wrist, left hand, right hand, throat, neck, jaw, tongue, nose, left eye, right eye, left ear, right ear, between the eyes, forehead, top of the head. Feel a deeper sense of relaxation flow through you from toes to the top of the head. Bones, muscles, movement, eyes surrender now. Elation and bones, muscles, movement, eyes surrender now. Anxiety, elation, depression, all of these I release into the hands of peace. I invite you to stay here as long as it feels good for you. When it feels right, rolling onto the right side of your body and slowly making your way into an easy sitting position. In deep love and appreciation for you, you matter, you are worthy, and you are seen. Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste.